இந்த நாய் பாரு.
Yeah, good evening, everyone.
Sir.
Hope I'm audible and everyone could see my screen.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Guys, people who are not talking, can you please go into mute? Okay, so I think like even my 7 a.m. batch students also here, right? Okay, so that's good, guys. So thanks for cooperating and joining for the evening batches. So as I said, it will be couple or 3 classes until we finish the Ecma 6. Okay, so today we are about to start with the Ecma concepts here. Okay, so what do you mean by Ecma? So let us talk something about the history of the Ecma, where it started. Why people keep calling the advanced JavaScript as the Ecma part, and what is the latest, etc. Things. We'll have a look on that. Okay, so the very first thing is full form of Ecma. Can anyone help me here? What do you mean by Ecma? So, okay, it's fine. So it means European Corporation, European Computer Manufacturing Association. Okay, the full form of the Ecma is European Computer Manufacturing Association. So what actually this association will do? So this association is very simple. It is a non-profit organization. Implies their intention is not to get something or not to sell something or get income out of it. So it is like for a social, it is just a like it just gives some standards for the computer, standards for the programming things. Okay. So what Ecma will do is it is simply standards. Okay, so it is going to give some standards. So before going with the standards, for example, you would have heard about something called as ISI, Indian Standard Organization, ISO. Okay, so you would have seen some of the organization which is ISO certified, ISO 2001 certified, ISO 2003 certified, something like that. So what do you mean by this ISI certified or ISO certified? So what do you mean by this is Indian Standard or ISI, what actually it will do is it is going to give some set of standards. If any of the product which is getting produced from a company or some organization, if it is matching all the standards what the ISI or ISO is giving, we simply say that it is ISI certified or ISO certified. Agree everyone? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the same way, now when a JavaScript, or not just only JavaScript, any programming language which is going to satisfy the set of standards what Ecma is going to provide, we call it as a Ecma standard. Okay, simple and straightforward. It is going to provide some set of standards. Ecma is going to provide some set of standards. If you are reaching to the particular standards, any programming language. So Ecma is not only for the JavaScript. There are other scripting languages which even follows the Ecma standard. Example, JavaScript is one of the one. TypeScript is one of the one. Okay. In the same way, like there are a lot of JavaScript is one of the one. So there are a lot of scripting languages which do follow. Guys, if you are not talking, can you please go into mute? Okay, so like this, a lot of scripting languages do follow the standards what Ecma is going to provide. So if they follow the particular standards, they will be called as a particular Ecma version. So Ecma currently, I think it is in around 1997, Ecma got started. And currently, it is going to be Ecma 2. If you're not talking, please go into mute, guys. Okay. So the very first thing is, while you are declaring the variables, I say some function, something called as show message. Okay. I say var a is equal to 90. Under this, I say var b is equal to 99. Okay. Can you tell me what is the scope of variable a?
Global.
Global.
Awesome. So it is a global variable. It can be accessible anywhere within the application. What is the scope of variable b?
Local.
Local.
Local. It can be
Private.
only accessible under the particular function. It cannot be accessible outside of this particular function. Super fine. Now, when I say a simple if condition, if it is true, some condition I have here, I say where name is equal to, say, something called as Tina. Okay. Now you tell me, could I able to access the value of name outside of the if block? Yes or no?
No.
No. Okay. Let
No,
us
sir.
how it is accessing. Now when I inspect this guy, go for the console. Now when I'm reloading this page, why nothing is coming? I said, this is the one which I'm doing? Okay, the search is happening. Yeah. Now, you said no, right? Then how come Tina is coming here? Strange, right? The question what you have is, boss, you have declared the variable under the if block, but still the scope of this particular variable is going to become the global scope. Okay. Now, whenever you go with a function is called as module, a piece of module under which you're going to add some set of instructions. Okay. Whenever you add this if or for or while or set of block, that we call it as a block of statement. This is a module. This is a block. Whenever you create a var keyword is going to create a scope under the module, not under the block. Now, what if I would like to create a variable scope? Whenever I say var name, it should be only accessible under the open if to the closed if. That is where you have a new predefined keyword, something called as let keyword. Till now, we have seen only two scopes. One is the global scope and another is the module scope. Okay, anything which is declared outside is going to be global. Anything which is declared under this function is going to be the module scope. That is what we have seen. But anytime you want to have a block scope, you are going to make use of a predefined keyword which is started supporting in JavaScript from your Ecma 6. Okay, when I say let keyword, the name can be only accessible under this open and closed if block. If I try to access that guy outside, now if you reload this page, come on, how come this is accessible? I said, oh, I haven't saved it. Don't save this. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Let me try. One second, guys. What is this? How come it is accessible when I'm saying it as a let keyword?
हेलो सर।
Yes, ma'am.
सर वो जो कंसोल डॉट लॉग आपने लिखा है ना वो फॉर लूप के बाहर, वो अंदर लिख के देखिए, लेट कीवर्ड यूज किए ना आपने।
That will come right anyway. If I keep it out, if I keep it inside, it will for sure come, right? That will come. But my expectation is, I mean, my question is, if you see, when I'm using this I value outside, it doesn't come because the I is only declared within the for loop. The scope of that variable is in the only block scope. But my question is, when you say name should also be under the block scope. But name is getting access. Name is getting accessible. What is this? Okay, now when I say console.name, actually it should not come because it is a block scope. It is only under this guy. How come this guy is coming? Let's go with an example. Okay, I'll do one thing, guys. To not to waste the time, I'll check this let guy. Okay, so at least for the for loop, when you say var keyword, obviously it will become as a global scope. Anywhere you wanted, you could able to access that guy.
Sir,
Okay.
is it about topmost scope? We are using
No,
the
no.
lower.
Okay, let us try that. No,
Make-
actually,
delete that function and use that.
shall I keep it here? Even here, it should not. When I say console.log name, now if you call this show message and save this, it's still coming. This is the problem. But now if I say console.log I, you see here, I value will come. Even though value I should only belong to the for loop, but still it is accessible outside. Why so? This is a module scope which it is coming. Now if I make it as a let keyword, now if you come back and reload the page, you see when I'm getting the access of I, it is throwing an error. Okay, I will see like why this string is not coming.
Sir, can you try by declaring the variable twice?
Variable type, obviously that is different. In case of, I mean, that is the second part of the let keyword. The thing is, now you say var a equal to 90. Okay. Now, if you say var a is equal to 99, JavaScript doesn't throw an error for you. Okay, let me comment out this guy. Okay, now if you reload the page, this is how it comes. Implies the a is getting changed to 99 again. But if you say some let b is equal to say some 90. Now again, if you say let b is equal to 12, save this guy, if you reload the page, it is going to throw an error. So that is again a block scope. I mean, once you declare a let keyword, it cannot be redeclared. But that is not the case with your var keyword. That is the second part of the let. Am I clear? That is what your question is, right, Hemant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I will talk about this. One thing is this part also should not be accessible. I will check and I'll let you know on the string part.
Try in other browser, Firefox.
Okay, let us check that guy. This is strange, right? In case of your Chrome, it is throwing Tina, whereas in case of your Mozilla, it is throwing as empty string. Okay, if I make it as var, come to the
Instead of string, can you change the data type and check maybe?
how do you want me to change the data type?
I mean, just to
different
put a
data type
number, something like that, integer.
Okay. Instead of string, let me give it as some 100. Okay. Now I make it as a let keyword. Now you go to the Firefox. Firefox is saying empty string. Whereas coming to this guy, it is showing Tina. How come? You know one thing, am I looking into the same guy? Tina is not there, right? Oh, what is this guy? Where is Tina coming from? We made it as name 100. Still it is coming like Tina. Reload the page, Tina. It is say some start 1, 2, 3. Come back and reload the page. Come on. How come this Tina is coming from line number 25? Might be my system got a Tina virus. I'm regularly using this word and this became this is surprise. Okay, when I go
It's maybe
Sir,
the
can
issue with the
you, sir, can you clear the cache and try?
cache is not a problem, right? If you see, okay, you know one thing, let me change the variable name. I make it as name1. Okay. Now you go to the browser. Awesome. It is working, guys, actually. Oh my God, it is working. Okay, so now if you see here, I mean, some issue with my system where name itself is got some Tina virus. That's fine. I changed the variable name, something called as name1. And if you see, I make it as a var keyword. Okay, and now if you reload the page, I should be able to access the value of Tina even outside of this guy. But when we make it as a let keyword, what is going to happen? The scope of this variable is only within this for loop. It cannot be accessible outside of this for loop. Okay, so now if you reload the page, it is simply saying that was that name1 variable is not at all declared. So this is what the difference between the local scope, module scope, and block scope. Any questions? Is everyone clear on this? Fine. Okay. The next part, what we have is there is another keyword being supported in your JavaScript, which is called as const keyword. So what do you mean by this const keyword? Anytime you want to declare a variable which is a final variable within the application, and you don't want to change the value of that variable even by mistake, we should declare that using something called as const keyword. For example, let's take a practical example that in my application, the total number of registrations, I say maximum number of registrations are, I gave only something called as 1000 registrations. So anytime user is getting registered, I need to check whether it is greater than total number of registration already crossed 1000 or not. If it is 1000, I can simply throw an error. But here, what if mistakenly someone is coming and he is actually incrementing the registrations here? Okay, mistakenly he's updating the value of this guy. Now, if you come back and reload the page, okay, let me remove this guy. Now, if you come back and reload the page, application is not throwing any error because you're just updating a value. But as per the user, I don't want to make anyone to update this value. So in this case, instead of var keyword, go with something called as const keyword, which is equal to a final value. Now, if you save this guy, come back here and reload the page. Now, what it is saying, assignment to constant variable is an error, which indicates that you are trying to change the value of a variable which is constant, which cannot be changed throughout the application. Am I clear? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the two new keywords being supported from your Ecma 6. One is your let keyword and another thing is your const keyword. Okay.
Sir,
Yes,
hello.
ma'am.
Sir, can we access the late keyword value outside the function, outside the block scope? Like in JSON, we have a chance we can access like object.key value. Similarly, can't we access the late keyword value?
You are saying that closure concept you're combining here, ma'am? In closure, you can have an access of closure data using the closure name. Are you saying in that perspective?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is completely different, right? Now here, I'm declaring a block. Do you think closure is a block or closure is a module?
Module.
It is module, right? Because it is a function again. So that is the reason you can't even access the let data what you declare within the closure even outside. But yes, one way is if it is closure, say for example, guys 7 AM, don't get confused. We haven't yet covered the closure I think we are done with the closure concept also, right? Because you guys also done with advanced JavaScript. Yeah. So now I say something called as a function. Now here you say let a is equal to 800. Okay. Now when you're returning it, let I say some count. I can say something called as a, right? Now from outside, what you will do, you will assign a name to this closure where some test equal to so-and-so. Now test.count is indirectly a, right?
Yes.
Got it, Sonali?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what we call it as the let keyword and the const keyword. And the next concept, what we have is arrow functions. Till now, I have already explained to you guys that what is the way or what are the different ways you can actually go with the function definition. You have seen a normal function declaration. We have seen assigning a variable to a function. We have seen arrow functions also. And I suggested you that everywhere you go, make use of the arrow functions. But I haven't ever explained you what is the difference between the arrow function and the normal function. You just know that anytime you want to define a function, say something called as show data, you can simply say an arrow symbol. This is how you're going to define a function. From Ecma 6, it is recommended that don't go with the function keyword ever. Anywhere you want a function, just to define it as a arrow function. Super fine. But what is the use? What is the advantage we are getting? Okay, we are removing the function keyword. We are using the arrow symbol. But what is the main advantage you're going to get? Okay, let me create a simple example. I want to create a class, something called as arrow definition. Okay, this is one of the class. Under that, you know that there is some constructor which is used to assign the class variables. And I have something called as this dot count equal to say some 99. Under this, I have display info, one of the class method. I say console.log count value is plus something called this dot count. Okay, I have a very simple class. Under that, we have a constructor. As we know, constructor is used to assign the class variables. I have one of the class variable count. For that, I'm assigning the value 99. Under that, I have a method called as display info. Under that, it is showing the value of the that count variable or count data member. Okay. Now, in order to invoke this display info method, what is the way we have, guys? How do we actually invoke the method from a particular class?
By declaring the object.
First of all, we need to create an instance or we need to create an object for the class, isn't it? So I say var, say some p1 is equal to new arrow definition of simple. Now I say p1 dot display info. Save this guy, come back, open the browser. Now if you say console, what you got? You got something called as value is 99. Super fine. Now what I'm saying is, for example, under this definition, I'm going to use some set timeout method. Okay. Under this set timeout method, I'm going to pass some callback method and I will say something like 5000, which is after 5 seconds of time, I say count value after some time is so and so. Can you tell me what will be the expected result at line number 19? What will be my count value? Come on, guys.
99.
What? Obviously, it is 99. Okay. After 5 seconds, when the line number 17 gets executed, can you tell me what will be my count value?
99.
Again, obviously, it has to be 99 because we are not changing the value of the count here. Okay. Now, if you save this guy, come back over here and reload the page. You got the first value of count as 99. And after 5 seconds of time, the count value, what you got is undefined. This is a very strange part, isn't it? We are not modifying anything over here. And after 5 seconds, if I'm asking this guy to show me the value of this count, it is simply saying that I don't have the value of the count and it is saying like undefined. This is where you have the problem with the normal functions you use in your JavaScript. The difference is whenever you are using this normal function, you know this is called as a callback function, isn't it? Normally what happens, it is coming to line number 23, creating an object. At line number 24, calling your method, this is getting called. Now under this, you said it as a set timeout, implies this function should not be called immediately. It has to be called after some time. Then who is going to take care? Who is going to take care that after 5 seconds, I will come and I will execute this guy? You have something called as a call stack internally within the browser. Internally within the JavaScript engine, there is something called as a call stack. Call stack is something called, let me show you. So how the call stack generally looks like is, this is how it looks like. Okay, call stack looks something like this. When a function is being called, what it will do? It will just put that function into this guy. Second function into this guy. Okay, so this will be my first function. This will be my first function. This will be my second function. Like this, the number of functions will be added into the call stack. Okay. Now you said that, okay, one of the function need to be called after 5 seconds of time. that piece of code will be added over here. Say something called as that set timeout guy with one of the method what need to be called after 5 seconds. In case of your normal function, whenever that callback method is being moved to the call stack, it doesn't store the this operator value. It doesn't hold the current object reference. It only holds that, okay, this is the method which need to be called. I will be forgetting about what do you mean by this operator. If you immediately call, obviously p1.display in the sense here itself it is getting called. This indicates p1 object, p1.count 99 is coming. But after 5 seconds, if you're calling that guy, it is not storing the reference of the particular object. It simply stores the callback method which need to be called. Now, after 5 seconds, what do you mean by this? I'm not holding it. That is the reason it is saying like undefined. This is what the problem what you have with your normal functions. Now, if I make it, no boss, I don't want to make it as a normal function. I will make it as an arrow function. What happens in case of your arrow function? Whenever the callback method is being stored under this guy, it will be even holding. What do you mean by this object? It will be holding the current object also, so that after 5 seconds, if you invoke that guy, he will be invoking that using this operator. I mean the current object. Automatically things will execute super fine. This is what, now if you see the output of this guy, earlier it was showing like value after some time is undefined. Now I made it as arrow function. Now if you save this guy, come back and reload the page. Now it should able to throw the value here after 5 seconds. Am I getting this? Yes, it is. This is what the difference between the normal function and the arrow function. A very, very good interview question here, guys. People will ask you, what is the difference between the major difference between the arrow function and function? It doesn't mean that boss, we are not using the function keyword. Instead, we are using the arrow symbol. No, that is not the exact difference. The main intention of going with the arrow function is you call after some time, you call immediately, whatever it is. In case of your call stack, arrow function will even store the arrow function will even store the current object on which the method get called. Any questions? Is everyone clear, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everyone, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice. Now, the next thing what actually we have is, we have a concept, something called as default parameters in case of your JavaScript. Okay, we can call it as default parameters or extended parameter handling. So what do you mean by this? Let's have a look. Okay, let us say I have a function, something called as add values. Now you can go with the arrow functions, right? Everywhere. I say add values is going to be a function, something like this, which is taking some a1 comma a2. Okay, and now I say console.log, not console.log, I say where sum is equal to a1 plus a2. Okay, I say console.log, the sum is plus sum. Okay, add values of say some 23 and 34. Save this guy. Now if you come back, open within the browser, inspect this guy, go for console. The sum is going to be 57. Super fine, right? Now on the top, what if I'm saying something called say some A3 I'm expecting. I'm saying A1 plus A2 plus A3 here. Okay. Now, if you come back and when I'm reloading the page, it is showing it as NaN. Can you tell me what is the reason it is showing as NaN? And first of all, you know that NaN in the sense not
Not a number.
Yeah. So why the reason it is showing like NaN, guys?
We don't pass the third parameter value.
We are not exactly passing the value of the third parameter. Obviously, this value, if you're not passing, it is going to take it as a undefined. Obviously, undefined plus 23 plus 34, which is going to become a NaN. Fine. Now, my expectation is every time add values will take 3 parameters. If the user is not passing any parameters, obviously we want to take it a default value. Okay, my expectation is if the user is passing, consider that value. But if the user is not passing anything, I want to consider a default value here. So how do I go with that? Okay, so in that case, what we actually do is, guys, just give me a second. Yeah. So in that case, what actually we can do is in your JavaScript, there is an option like adding default values or default, whatever the parameters you have, for those parameters, you could able to give some default values. Right now, I am saying A3 is equal to 90. Now, if you save this guy, come back over here. So what is the output I got? I got it as 147. Why so? You are saying it is 23. You are saying it is 34. What if you are not passing any value? By default, I'm going to consider it as 90. That is how it is coming as 147. But what if you are passing some value, something called as 11? Now, if you save this guy, come back over here and reload the page, I got it as 68. So if you pass a value, it is going to consider this value. If you don't pass any value, by default, it is going to take whatever the default value what you have given. So under the extended parameters, the very first concept what you have is default parameters, which is being supported from your Ecma 6. Any questions? Clear, everyone? Okay. Next. Let me copy the same guy. I will make it as rest params. So what do you mean by rest parameter? There is a separate parameter what you have in your JavaScript. Right now, I'm passing, I'm expecting 2 parameters and it is finding the sum of those 2. What if I'm going to say some 20, I'm going to say some 34, 56, something like this. Okay, or else let me say, for example, if I take out this guy, open inside the browser, inspect this guy, go with the console, it is saying the sum is 57. Super fine. I mean, whatever the values you're passing, the 23 and 34, I got the sum of these values. Fine. But my expectation is, what if user might be passing some 23 or user might be passing some another 3, 4, 500 or 20 other values? How you're going to handle this? I can't keep on updating the values like A1, A2, A3, etc. and all. Instead of this, can you guys give me a solution who can actually catch all the parameters by default?
Arguments keyword.
Awesome. We already discussed about this concept, something called as arguments keyword. A predefined keyword like argument default gets created. It will be holding all the parameters, whatever we pass. But if you see, in case of your arguments, what is going to happen? It will hold all the parameters, whatever been passed. It doesn't matter whether you catch it or you don't catch it. All the parameters will be stored. But here, in case of your Ecma 6, there is something called as rest parameter. What do you mean by rest parameter? Any parameter which starts with 3 dots, and I say something called as some temp. Now, what do you mean by this temp here? Temp is called as a rest parameter, which is starting with 3 dots here. Now I say console.log. What is this temp? Let's have a look over here. Now, once I reload this page, does my temp is holding all the remaining parameters which were not captured by the particular function? Yes. This is what. Now, if you say arguments, console.log Okay, it's just. Okay, yeah, sorry guys. Okay, so this is what it is. Now let us console this arguments guy. Now if you reload this page, come on. See here, arguments is the keyword which it is saying that it is not at all defined, but earlier it was, right? Okay, earlier whenever you used to define a function, it used to show the arguments keyword as a array of values. So why the difference here? Now why it is saying like argument is not defined? Because we are using it as a arrow function. Now let us say I have var something like display info, okay, which is a normal function, okay, and these guy I say console.log arguments, okay, and I say display info 34 55 67 89, okay, save this guy. Now once I reload this page, do I see the arguments value? If it is a normal function, we used to catch the parameters, which we call it as, I mean, all the parameters will be cached in the form of an array using the arguments keyword. But now coming to the arrow functions, now the arguments keyword is not at all used. It is simply saying that boss, there is no keyword called as arguments. Then how do you access the extra parameters what you're passing? That is using the rest parameter. And what do you mean by rest parameter? Any parameter which starts with 3 dots here. Okay, I gave the last three parameter, parameter as triple dot with temp, and it is going to hold all the parameters. And one more difference what you see under this arguments and temp is, in case of your arguments, you have all the parameters. It doesn't matter whether you catch some of them or you don't catch some of them. Every other parameter will be part of your arguments keyword. But coming to the rest parameter, it only stores the values what user have not catched it. Now, if you see, you have passed this 23, 34, 11, etc. and all, but you're already catching the first two parameters. 23, 34 is not coming. Only the 11, 20, 34, 56 is coming. This is what the difference between the rest parameter and the arguments parameter. So this is again a very good interview question, guys. People will ask you, what is the difference between the arguments keyword? Why the arguments keyword is not supported in the arrow functions? And if the arguments keyword is not supported, what is the alternative for that? They might not ask you directly about what do you mean by rest parameter, but they may ask you like how you're going to do that if you are not having the arguments keyword. Am I clear here? Anyone? Everyone so clear? Okay, nice. Now, another way we can actually make use of this rest parameter is we can make use of the rest parameter, or else we make it as spread operator. Okay. Let us say I have an array, guys. Assume where some data 1 array of something like this, where some data 2 is equal to array of say some 1, 22 and 33. My expectation is I would like to combine the data 1 object into data 2. So what is that solution we have? One thing is I can run a for loop on data 1, go to each and every value, push that guy into the data 2. That is one option. Or you can concatenate this array. Or the other option what you have is data 2. Instead of this, you know what you can do? I can simply say data 1 like this. Now if I console .log data 2. Now if you open this guy within the browser, go with inspect, go with console. Now if you see an array, am I combining the multiple arrays with a single line here, guys? This is where we are not using it as a rest parameter. Rest parameter means we are using if we use it as a parameter of one of the function, but here we are not using it as a parameter. So here the triple dot operator will become a spread operator, where it is used to combine multiple arrays to form a single array. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here we are combining the data 1 array into the data 2. Earlier, if at all you have to make this, you need to run a for loop on the data 1 object. You need to take individual value. You need to push that value into the data 2. But instead of this, you simply use this spread operator in order to combine this multiple arrays to form a single array. I have a question from Radhika. Is spread parameter always placed at the end? That's a very good question, Radhika. Every time, if you are using the not the spread operator, is a rest parameter, right? Because if you are spread operator in the sense without a function, we are passing it as a parameter, that guy will called as rest parameter. So if you are using that as a rest parameter should be only at the end of the parameter. If it is in between, it is not possible. Okay, because it never know like which one to delete and which one to add. Only first two, whatever the values you have, you catch it. Remaining all will automatically go into the spread operator. Sorry, the rest parameter. Okay. And one more advantage what you have with your spread operator is, let us say I have where say some name is equal to something called v. Okay, good evening everyone. My requirement is I want to create individual character array of all the strings what I have. Can you give me a solution for this? Individual array, an array of all the individual characters under the given string. Can you give me a solution for this? Anyone? We have seen one of the method, guys, already.
Split method.
Please pardon the question.
Awesome. The thing is split method. We have split method, which is used to create an array of all the individual characters, whatever you have given. Instead of this, you can even say where result is an array of spread operator, something called as name. It will automatically divide, or it will automatically create an individual array of characters. Let us see this guy. Console log result. Come back and reload the page. Now do you see an array of all the individual characters on a single stage? So the spread operator is even used to divide all the, for all the individual characters. From the given string, it is going to divide it as a all individual strings here. Any questions up to this, guys? Clear everyone? Guys, you're not responding. Yes or no?
Sir, yeah.
Clear, sir. Yes, sir.
Next, The next concept, I mean, when you come to this Ecma 6, right, like this only, like we'll be having small new features. You just need to know what all the new features which are being supported. Okay, nothing much too complex part. Everything will be small parts. The next part, what actually we have is there is something called as string interpolation. Okay, so what do you mean by string interpolation? Let me create an example on this. Save it as string interpolation. Okay, so let us say some script here. I say some var you name equal to, say some, no Tina, say something called as Raj. Var age equal to, say some 10, where gender is equal to something called as male. I have this data. My expectation is I would like to create a message where MSG is equal to Mr. Raj is 10 years old and he is and Raj is male. This is what my expectation is. Okay, I would like to show some message, something like this. Mr. Raj is 10 years old and Raj is male. But here, the problem what I have is, okay, now when I console this guy, console.log msg, now if you run this guy, inspect this guy, go for console, it says Mr. Raj is so-and-so. But my expectation is, what if instead of Raj, Mr. Krish is coming of age something called as some 21. So now if I want to show this data, what is going to happen? Every time it will show the Raj data. I want to show the dynamic data. Now what I need to do, instead of Raj, I need to put something like this. Here I need to say uname is, I need to remove this 10 here, make it as plus, because you know, anytime you have the variable name and the string, the separator should be a plus operator. And again, I need to remove the age here. We need to say it as a plus and uname plus gender. Okay, now if you save this guy, come back over here and reload the page, it is saying that Mr. Krish is 20 years old and Krish is a male. Okay, now instead of Krish, I have something called as Raj, some 22 or something like this. Now if you reload, automatically things are getting changed. Super fine. But now, don't you think that it is a extra job for me taking variable name, adding sum to all of this? No, yes, it is a extra job for us. Instead of this, the better way, what it is recommended is string interpolation. What JavaScript is saying is, boss, why don't you put the string name over here itself? If you see here, I'm not taking it as a variable name here. I'm taking it as a string like this. What JavaScript is saying is, I mean, directly write this. It will my responsibility to put this value of this variable. Now, if you save this guy, come back and reload, it is saying like invalid at line number 19. What was that invalid? Oh, it should be string, right? Okay, now if you save this guy, reload the page. But the problem what you have is, anytime you give any value, doesn't matter whether it is a variable name or a string, anything what you give within the inverted commas, it will treat it as a string, right? It will not treat it as a variable name. But my expectation is, boss, uname is not a string. It is a variable name. You need to read the value from the variable. You need to put the value there. You should not put the variable name directly. So how do I make use of it? That is where what JavaScript is saying is, don't directly put the variable name, keep it under a flower brace and give a symbol, something called as dollar. Okay, it is nothing to do with the jQuery. Don't combine. It is not like from the jQuery you have a dollar symbol. Is it is combining? No, because there we used to say dollar dot, but here it is dollar off. Wherever you have the variable name, you keep it under the flower braces. You simply say dollar. Here it is a gender. Keep it under the flower braces. You keep it under a dollar. Is age again. Sorry. Here you keep it under the dollar. Okay. Now if you save this guy, come back and reload the page, still it is the same. It is not identifying that uname as the variable name. It is treating it as a string. Now I need to say I need to add one more change. What is that? Whenever you're giving the string interpolation, it is mandatory that you should not give the string commas as inverted commas or a single colon. Give it as a quote symbol. In your keyboard on the left top, you should be able to see a quote symbol along with the tilde. Okay, just to give it under the quote symbol. What does that quote symbol mean? The quote symbol indicates that was JavaScript. You need to execute that guy. You need to execute this guy. Mr. is a string, and where you have a dollar uname, in the sense you take the Raj and you have to keep it here. Now, if you save this and reload the page, this is how it is replacing the content. So the advantage is you are not saying that plus string plus number, not at all necessary. Remember earlier we used to show with the console messages like console.log name plus so and so plus so and so. Now you don't need to do that. Wherever you have a string along with the data to be shown, don't use those plus and separator, etc. and all. Instead, use the string interpolation dollar, open the flower brace, put the variable name. It's going to work. Any questions? Is everyone so clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is what we call it as a string interpolation, which is being supported from your Ecma 6. Okay, whenever you want to go with URL creation, remember like in your URL, if at all you have to create a query parameterized URL anywhere, like wherever you want it, you can just make use of the string interpolation concept. Okay, so let's pause for today, guys. We'll continue the remaining topics tomorrow. So today we have understood the history of the Ecma 6, the full form, and what are the standards, what it is providing. On the top, we have seen the difference between the local scope, module scope, and global scope. We have seen the constant variable, which indicates the final value, where the value should not be changed. We have seen the usage of arrow function. We have already seen the syntax of arrow function earlier, but now we have seen what is the need, where actually the arrow function is completely different from the normal function. That is what we have seen. And we even understood that from now, none of the JavaScript code should be defined using the function keyword. Always it has to be with the arrow function. On the top, we have seen the JavaScript default parameters, how you are put the default values to the parameters we have seen. And on the top, we have seen the rest parameter, which is the last parameter of the particular function or any function. And on the top, we have even seen the, what do you say? What else we have seen, guys? After the rest parameter?
Spread parameter.
Spread operator. Okay, spread operator we have seen. Where you can actually spread the complete string into individual characters, combining multiple arrays to form a single array. And on the top, we have ended with the string interpolation concept. These all are the new standards being supported from your Ecma 6. Okay. Okay, so let's pause for today, guys. We'll meet again back on tomorrow, and I'll continue the remaining things tomorrow, guys. Okay, have a good day and bye for today.
Bye, sir. Good night, sir.
Good night.
Good night, sir.